LaVar Arrington.
Uh-huh.
Can we have a talk about something here?
What do you want to discuss?
I just want to know what happened when Aaron Rodgers grabbed a post hole digger and decided, you know what, I want to hang out underground for a few days. Because he was explaining to Peter King of NBC Sports the decision to...
The Peter King.
Yes, to take a pay cut. And Aaron Rodgers had the following to say, quote, "What it comes down to is it was the right thing that made me feel best. I thought it was important they knew how committed I was. And in my conversations with GM Joe Douglas, he has made it very clear the vision for the football team. You probably agree with this. This year, compared to like 2005, the amount of transactions that happen now with guys getting cut and the amount of trades, way more than before. Big names move at the trade deadline now. I wanted to make sure that if somebody valuable came available, that we'd be able to get him. I'm very happy with the contract. I feel great about it." So he went underground thinking he was going to retire. He came out, had one sort of a back and forth either through his agent with GM Brian Gutekunst of the Green Bay Packers, and now not only is he back, he's elsewhere. He's got a 7-year deal, and he is doing all of this just to make sure that the New York Jets have the ability to add pieces if the New York Jets want to add pieces. What the hell happened underground that Aaron Rodgers has done this sort of an about face?
Can I get some conspiracy music going on right now?
I would hope so.
Here we go. I'm going to tell you what happened.
Unsolved mysteries here?
Yeah,
or what here?
Whichever one that we could pull up as quickly as possible, because I do have a theory on what happened.
I'm Robert Stack. Back from Las Vegas, LaVar Arrington has got himself a conspiracy theory. It's one that involves Aaron Rodgers, and it may or not involve weed underground while he was there for 4 or 5 days.
Well, he was underground in the tree, and it was a hobbit home.
Yeah.
What people fail to mention is, well, there are hobbits that are inhabitants to the place that he went. He was seeking the wise counsel of the old wise hobbit and the hobbit friends of the Hobbit Council. And while sitting down there in the darkness, which wasn't darkness, there were candles that were lit, they sat and they reasoned. They reasoned and they sat. And after that time that was spent so well, so productive, so enlightening, Aaron Rodgers came from that place, that deep, dark place, with a plan. And the blueprint of that plan was to take a pay cut so that the world would see that Aaron Rodgers isn't selfish. To let the world know that getting a good player meant more than getting the $35 million. Once he realized that this was the plan that he was going to execute, he also realized that it painted a further, not so flattering picture of the Gutekunst and the other guy. What his name is what? Mark Murphy.
Yeah, Weekend at Murphy's, baby.
So now you say Aaron Rodgers, the selfish, wanting MVPs, playing for Aaron Rodgers, that was no one comes to Green Bay except for Aaron Rodgers. That Aaron Rodgers has now endeared himself not only to the Jets faithful and to the front office, but then it leaves the people who love him the most, the Hall of Fame part of his career, scratching their heads, bewildered, confused, nostalgic, trying to understand why. Why would you leave and be a different person than the person that we were painted to think that you were? Is it good? Is it bad? I don't know that we will ever know the truth of this. But yet and still, the faithful of Green Bay sit there in fear, knowing, no more music. Oh, well, there you go. I'm done. Music is done, so I'm done.
That's fine.
They are concerned about what their future holds for their team. Look, Jordan Love has thrown some really, really good balls in practice, but is he good enough to take the mantle that has been so heavy to hold because of the last two quarterbacks that have held it? I think people want to understand why he would be willing to be so cooperative in New York but not come across as that person in Green Bay.
So I'm looking at this whole situation, and first of all, I think it's great that Rodgers is doing it. Good for him, and for all the
a lot of people don't think it's a great thing.
Well, I think there's a lot of negative.
A lot of former players don't think it's a great thing.
Oh, they think it sets a bad precedent.
Well, they think that it's fake. Some guys think that it's fake because it shouldn't come down to finances to prove and show that you want to win a championship. That's up to the organization to figure that out.
I think that this also shows that no amount of darkness, no ayahuasca, no sort of, mental, concoction you can take that'll get your mind to go to a different place for a few minutes so that you can all of a sudden reevaluate yourself. None of that.
Not wise hobbits?
Yeah,
that didn't work?
None of that has the same effect as the good old-fashioned chip on the shoulder. The chip on the shoulder is undefeated.
Well, Aaron Rodgers' chip on the shoulder is pretty.
Oh, it's
got a great resume.
Because whatever interaction he had with the Packers when he came out of there, he then said to himself, "Oh, so you're getting rid of me? Like you guys went out on this? Okay, we'll see how this works." And he has now done everything the opposite of what he was painted as. And he talked about it, I think it was with Pat McAfee starring A.J. Hawk on the Pat McAfee show.
Starring A.J. Hawk.
Like, he talked about it and saying, there was this narrative that was built that I wasn't available all the time and I wasn't totally invested into the team the final year in Green Bay. And I think all of that stuff has led him to this, to where he said, okay, I'm going to show you how invested I am. Here's a bunch of money I'm going to give back. Here's what I'm willing to do. I'm going to go above and beyond, and that's the portrayal that I'm going to give you since you wanted to portray me as something else elsewhere. Like that's what it feels like to me.
But that's disingenuous.
Hey.
I mean, and so now it just comes down to, honestly, what it really comes down to is what the results will be, right? If they win in New York, if he wins the Super Bowl, he arguably becomes one of the biggest names ever in the history of the game.
Yeah.
Just because of what that would mean to that market and to that team in particular if he were to deliver that type of result. I think it just ultimately comes down to what their success level is. He's building a great case in terms of being, endearing and being loved by the fans. It's a very difficult market. I mean, I played in that market. They're not the nicest people. They want a winner, and they have a New York state of mind, as we've heard in songs. That's a real thing.
So let me ask you a question here, though, in regards to that. Do the Jets feel like you played for the Giants, which do have, and I'm not trying to insult Jets fans here, so
but the Giants have history.
Yeah, they have sort of this prestige to them.
Yeah,
and the Jets kind of feel like the Mets.
Like the hood.
Yeah, they kind of feel like the Mets. It's kind of like
around the way.
Yeah,
like Jenny from the blocks.
Right. It's just there does feel like a different.
They seem like second-rate citizens to me, if you ask me. Like when I was there, they were not treated like the Giants were. It was like the Giants were the divas, the Jets were the thugs. That's what it felt like. It
is funny how in cities with two teams that there is one or the other. That seems to happen. It's like the Lakers and the Clippers. I mean, Mark is wearing a White Sox hat. He's our technical producer. Mark knows. I mean, that's a Cubs town. The White Sox are just kind of there, and the Jets feel like they're just kind of there. So do you feel like that it's as difficult being in New York as a Jet as opposed to being a Giant?
Is it as difficult?
Like as far as the expectation level?
The expectations are high because they have a very large fan base and a very loyal, passionate fan base. Now, that doesn't change because it's like you're talking about like the Long Island's, that Strong Island. There's different parts of New York. And so if you understand, guys get real caught up into the boroughs and all those different things and how that's set up, you got guys claiming different parts. You got BK, you got Yonkers, you got Queens, you got, Brooklyn,
Yonkers?
You got, and then you got suburban, White Plains and all that stuff. And then there's Jersey on top of that, right? And then you got North Jersey, different parts of Jersey, but then heading out towards Coney and all those different places. It's just a different place. It's big as hell. So there's no drop off really in terms of size of fan base. The New York Jets have a significant following and a significant fan base. And there's some very, very notable fans of my boy, what Gary V is a big time Jets fan. There's a lot of
Gary V?
Yeah, there's a lot of famous people that are Jets fans, and so I'm pretty certain with all of the things at stake for Aaron Rodgers and his reputation and his career and his legacy, all those things being at plate to bat, so to speak. I really believe that he's going all in, cards all in, and chips all in the center of the table, because it's like this is the final chapters of my career as a football player, and how will I finish out and how will I be remembered? And I think it's super critical and important to him to have that type of career, and to set the stage for it to play out the way that a hero would have it play out if he's actually able to deliver success to this organization. And I think that's what the setup is. It's one thing when you go out and you win and you didn't say anything, but we always remember the people that called their shots, right? You look at the mighty Casey in the movie, the book, where he pointed out over the wall and pointed to where he was going to hit the ball, and then he did it. You get guys calling their shot. Muhammad Ali used to call his shots and do it in poetic fashion. Broadway Joe, who is still the most beloved, most popular, most recognizable New York Jet to ever play for the organization, is known for him, delivering the guarantee. This is what sports really, really, truly thrives on, are the narratives and the storylines that kind of circulate and develop when you have an amazing player say things like, they're going to do X, Y, and Z. Now, Aaron Rodgers hasn't said that, but when you're talking about giving up $35 million, I think his action says that he wants to deliver a championship to New York. And I think people are aware of that. And if they weren't, I think that this gesture and this deed, if that's what we want to call it, certainly drives home the point that to Aaron Rodgers right now, it means more to him to win than it even does to continue to pad his bank account.
Yeah. Well, listen, red ass Rodgers,
Puffy bottom Rodgers.
I'm into it. Let's go. Let's make this happen.